So, in today's video, we're on the bedrock realm that my friends and I like to call the jungle world. For obvious reasons, it's right in the middle of a jungle. But the jungle isn't really what we're here to talk about today. This realm is where I decided to relocate my evil lair. Because in Avotopia, the world was ending, the minions were upset, so, what's an aspiring Dark Lord to do anyway? Well, this one decided to just pack up and move. So I mustered all the power that a warlock can muster, I magicked the whole thing into a new realm, and so here we are. But since the Evil Lair is another build, I suppose we really ought to head into the nether. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Now, because this realm only has a few users, I really didn't have to move it quite as far away. But after I did some scouting around on this world's nether to find a suitable location, as it turns out, it wasn't really all that close either. Not nearly as far away as it was on Avotopia, but not super close. I really wanted to find that same combination of basalt delta right beside a warped forest so that it could have the same kind of feel. It's not quite the same as in the other world. I mean, it really can't be. It's not the same seed. But I was able to find a location that was kind of similar with enough room to grow. And since this is not a server and I don't have cheats enabled, I don't really have the power of warps and teleports to get there most of the time, so I built an ice road to get there, just to make the trip a whole lot faster. Now, we're going to speed that up a little bit because it still takes a few minutes to get there, and who wants to see that on a video? Okay, so we've arrived at an area that should look a little bit familiar to you. It's the same basic storage room from the Evil Lair on the Avotopia server. It should be, because I rebuilt the entire lair block for block. Now, I did it in creative mode and I pasted it in because I wasn't quite sure how long the original world was going to be around. I didn't really want to lose my source world while I was still building. Otherwise, I probably would have rebuilt the whole thing in survival just like I did originally. Now, while I was in creative mode and pasting stuff in, I decided to also paste in some dragon statues that my friend Blue created, and also build the basic structure of another small tower before I turned off creative and returned to survival. And I'll show you those in a bit. So if we head upstairs, you'll see that the rest of this tower should also look pretty familiar too. I did change up some minor things, like the carpet upstairs, and in a few cases I substituted some new materials that weren't available when I originally built the lair. You see here I've got some deep slate. Otherwise it's really exactly the same. I did, however, decide to extend each of the wings down into the lava. On the original lair on Avotopia, I only had done one of the wings, but here I decided to do all four, mostly because I think it looks cool. I even built a nether portal into this one for the occasional trip out for overworld materials, but just this one. Let's go ahead and head upstairs, though, just to see how the lair looks in its new location. Okay, now we are in a creative copy for this video because I wanted to be able to fly around and give you some camera angles that you just really can't get in any other way. So if we head up into the sky and look around, you can see that this is exactly the same tower. I'll just do a quick flyby here so that you can see that. The location is also very similar. There's some basalt deltas to the one side and both warped and crimson forests, all within a short distance. There's even a nearby nether fortress, so I could make a blaze farm just like I did on Avotopia. Now, while this isn't exactly the same, it is close enough for me to be able to continue with the same basic idea that I had for the original one. And since this realm belongs to me and isn't going anywhere, I can take my time to do it. Now, I have done some of the things that I had originally planned for the Avotopia location. I've had to adjust it a little bit for different terrain, but that's okay. One of the cool things about this location is that it has elevated platforms with different biomes on all four sides of the tower. So one of the first things that I did was to connect all of those locations with bridges. And I decided to go with long, slightly arched bridges, at least, in some of those cases, just to kind of evoke that fantasy feel. Now, I did that here, and I did one over here. I also went ahead and built a long rope bridge just to be reminiscent of the one that I had on Avotopia. I've also added giant lanterns suspended from the ceiling, which, again, I had intended to do on Avotopia, but I never really quite got around to it. Here, I've suspended them over each one of the bridges, which gives them some purpose in addition to looking pretty cool. Now, let me head down here. Here, you can see one of the two dragon statues that I pasted in. As I said, this was originally a statue that my friend Blue built in a creative world using a tutorial. I decided to change up the color palette a little bit so that the dragon is a little bit darker in contrast from the pillar that it's perched on. I also added the shroom lights for eyes so that they stood out, and I added some stained glass and some more shroom lights just to kind of create the effect of breathing fire. Now, up top here, actually this direction, actually, let me show you. Here's the other dragon statue. There's a little bit more room around this one so you can see it a little bit better. But up here on the top here is what I like to call the Black Keep. It's still a work in progress. It feels a little boxy to me, and while I've tried to give it some shape, it still feels like it needs something. It still makes a nice, kind of creates an ominous feel when you're kind of walking across the bridge here. Let's kind of do this here. When you're looking up at it like this, it's pretty imposing. Inside the keep, I've created a few rooms, and I've begun decorating each one of them to serve a purpose. Here we have just kind of a storage room, kind of a middle room with workstations. Here we actually have a big meeting hall where I guess the Dark Lord, or at least some of his minions, can kind of carry out their evil plans, or at least make their evil plans. Across the way here, I've got another room. This is kind of, I started with some storage here, but this isn't quite finished. I need to get some other things in here. Here I've got another room. Doesn't make sense to make another meeting room, but I kind of want to put some things in here. One of the things that I've realized, though, is just how tough it is in Minecraft to make something look truly rundown and creepy. I'll keep working on it, though. Down here, my plan is to put in a dungeon. I want to add some cells here and, maybe put some piglins in as prisoners. That might be kind of fun. So outside here and to the left, or right, my other left, you'll see that I have some houses just jutting out of the netherrack. The idea here was to create that barracks and living quarters for the minions and the evil armies, just like I wanted to do on Avotopia. But actually, let me kind of fly up here. Although these are nice houses and they use nether materials, this first draft turned out looking a little too cheerful for me. Not really scary at all. I'd kind of like to change that up a little bit. I got to do some rethinking here. I did manage to put a mega smelter in here so I can make the materials that I might need. But overall, I need to do some work here because I don't want this to look so cute. That's not really what I'm going for. It's supposed to be ominous and scary. So I got to figure out some ways to do that. Now, across the bridge here, we make our way to another tower. And this tower is really a cheat. What I wanted was, I wanted to add this arched bridge. But the problem was that the terrain here just really didn't support a bridge at this height. You can see the level that's over here is pretty low. The bridge would needed to come across right here because there's not really much more over there. And I would have had to do an awful lot of landscaping or create a very odd looking bridge. And I decided to go with option 3, which was to build a tower from that lower level and kind of bring it up to the top here, connect it to the terrain that was already here. And then I made the arched bridge connect to this tower instead of to the terrain itself. And overall, I kind of like how it turned out. Still a little dark here, which I guess it's supposed to be in the nether, but you get the idea. From here, if we run, or in this case fly through the warped forest and through part of the crimson forest, we'll actually make our way back to that rope bridge. Now, the rope bridge leads across the lava and back to the main area, and it also provides, let me set down here, it provides a nice way, a nice viewing area, and almost like an observation deck, to have a closer look at the dragon statue that I built. Now, normally what I would do from here is I would go into that tower. It's got a warped vine that takes me all the way down to the lower level, but since we're in creative mode, I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to fly. We'll fly down to this lower level here. And what you'll see down here on the lower level is that we are at the edge of another warped forest. And I built a replica of my bungalow from the Avotopia server. Now, I do want to mention that this was all done in survival. In fact, everything apart from the lair itself, the dragon statues, and the basic structure of this tower over here was actually done in survival. Or, I'm sorry, yes. These three things, the lair and the tower and the dragon statues, are the only things that were actually done in creative. Everything else was done in survival, including all of the spawn proofing that you see around here. The Black Keep was built in survival, the bridges and the bridge tower, and a whole additional overworld section that we're going to save for another video. All of that was done in survival. Now, this bungalow is mostly the same as it was on the Avotopia server, except that it doesn't really include the storage area, which wasn't really necessary, to be honest. On Avotopia, I built that storage area before I built the lair, which kind of has its own storage. Now here, the lair came first, so there wasn't really a need to build a storage area in here. I just used the one that was in the lair. Now, this bungalow has instead basically just easy access back down to the lair itself. So if we go down this warped vine all the way down, that will actually take us to a tunnel that goes underneath the lava, and it leads right back to the storage room for the lair. So you can see why I don't really need an extra one in the bungalow. Now, this kind of brings us full circle through the area that is the lair. But as I said before, actually, maybe I didn't say it. I do have a bit of a surprise for you. We don't have shaders on Bedrock, at least not on on most of the platforms. But what we do have now is RTX, or ray tracing mode. With the right texture pack and a PC with an RTX graphics card in it, we can get some pretty awesome looking worlds. And you're in luck because I just got a new PC with an RTX graphics card on it. So I'm going to be back in a second. I'm going to turn on the texture packs and turn on RTX mode so that you can see this whole area in RTX mode. It actually looks pretty cool. Okay, so we're back, and I've turned on the RTX mode, and as you can see, things look quite a bit different. All of the warped stems are glowing. It's quite a bit darker in here, even though we've got light showing up. You kind of really get an ambient feel with all of these shroom lights. I do want to point out though, there is a difference. The texture pack that I was using before is one called Compliance, which are I don't want to say 32-bit, but rather than your typical 16 by 16 textures, those are 32 by 32 textures, still very much the Minecraft vanilla, just with a little bit more resolution. These, however, are more, these are the 16 by 16 ones, but with RTX turned on. So if things look a little bit different, even aside from the RTX, that's really what the difference is. But let's head upstairs. This is cool down here, but where it really shines is when we get up to the area with the lava. You can see though here, look at all of the mood that this creates. The torches aren't that bright. You definitely have to light things differently with RTX, because even though things are spawn proofed, you don't necessarily get as much of the light showing up when the ray tracing is on. Now here, let's take a look out over the lava. Look how bright that is. And everything kind of takes on a red glow from that lava. But not to mention that, the netherrack is red. So you're really seeing a lot of that here. I will say that some of these RTX textures are kind of in early days. There are some things that glow that shouldn't, and some things that don't glow that should. You get some strangeness here. I'm sure they'll get that all worked out. But let's go here. We're outside. Let's head up into the sky. Wow, look at this stuff from below. Now, one of the differences with the RTX versus the shaders is that you don't get the movement that you do. Like with shaders, a lot of times things like trees and grass will move. They look like they're swaying in the wind. You don't really get that with RTX. It's really all about the lighting. And some of it looks good. Some of it doesn't look all that great. Some of it's just like amazing. But you really get that sense of this stuff here. The fire stuff really lights up. The things that glow really glow. You get the reflection of the things that do glow off of the other textures. Some of them end up being quite shiny. Other ones not so much. Let's see. I don't know if these will show up very well or not. I have one of the things that I did in the lair that you don't normally get to see very much of are the floors, and you definitely can't see them in RTX here. Wow, the whole floor looks black. Okay, probably not the best way to show off some of the fancy flooring that I did in here. Let's see. Wow, look at this. Okay, so let's fly back up here to the Black Keep. Let's see if we get... let's see what we get in here. Is it too dark, or do we get something that looks good? Well, the one thing that shows up, look, you can actually see a sheen to the polished blackstone brick. That's kind of cool. You can see some slight reflection of the iron armor in the floor. We like that. I definitely like the way the lights show up in this. It really gives you the ability to do some mood lighting. Now, here is the main meeting hall, and it's pretty clear to me, as dark as this is, that I'm going to need to put like a chandelier or some other light source over top of the table just to get an idea of what that would, well, so you can see the rest of the room more easily. Whoops. Hi, pig friend. Okay, so let's go out here. Let's try. Let's come over here to the tower. You don't really see much here. I do like the way I like the way the light reflects off of the surfaces. That looks pretty sharp. And the sense that you get when you're going through the warped forest with the glowing warped stems, that's kind of cool. This particular pack has an add-on to it that allows ores to glow, and that's why the quartz is glowing here. I think that looks pretty awesome. It's kind of nice if you're trying to mine with with RTX turned on. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to see the ores. I think what I'm going to do is come over here to the bungalow and take a look at this. Everything else has, because we're in the nether, we've got such a red sheen to everything, or such a red tint to everything. It's kind of hard to see. Although I gotta say, I wouldn't really have expected the the mushroom leaves, for lack of a better term, to glow. That looks a little strange. This room looks pretty cool. You know, I like how the shroom lights give just enough light to make this look very cozy in here. This is sharp, and the quartz, which normally is just a flat white, you really get you get the reflection of the shroom light off of that. Kind of makes it look like plastic furniture, but that's kind of cool. The the potion brewing stand, the blaze rod that's in it glows. That's kind of cool. I do need to get some more light in here just for RTX mode. And that's kind of all I can really show here. You definitely get a different sense of this area when the RTX is turned on. The lighting is completely different, completely changes the feel. This feels different. I'm not sure that well, I did show this before. We've got the tunnel that connects everything. Notice the reflection of the shroom lights on the ceiling. I like that. That's actually polished andesite up there. Looks pretty awesome. Since we're doing a bit of a show of RTX, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I think I will give you a brief look at just kind of the spawn area of this world, so you can see a little bit of what this looks like outside of the nether. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back at the spawn area. It's about mid-morning. Let's take a look. Let's head up into the sky and kind of take a look around the area. So you can see that with with these RTX shaders turned on, you get reflection of the sun in the water. That looks pretty awesome. You can actually see some of the shadows of the jungle trees around here. Wow, that's amazing, honestly. Wow. the reflections and the shadows are what really, really kick this whole thing off. Let's just walk through here. I can fly up in a little bit. They do some things with the textures here. It looks like they try to they make them look a little bit three-dimensional too, which is in some cases makes sense, in other cases maybe not so much. That water is just amazing. The shadows, wow. Just kind of walk through this. Get a little shop here. I'm not trying to give a tour here, but we'll go into the shop for a second and kind of see how it's interesting how it changes a little bit from outside to inside. It's almost as if your eyes are adjusting. It's kind of a neat effect that they do there. I love that. Okay, let's go back over here across the bridge. Wow. I love the mid-morning sun across here. This is pretty awesome. Look at the way the obsidian reflects. That's sharp. The sun shining through the jungle trees and on the jungle trees. Just a very, very cool effect here. There is... Actually, I don't think... I can't remember offhand if it's an add-on for this or not, but the glass is very clear on this, although you can still see the outline of it. You can interestingly see the reflections on the edges of the glass, which I guess makes sense. You don't see that really when you're using solid blocks of glass. It doesn't really show the edges like that, but it all sort of joins together that way. But you can see the individual panes here, and you can see the edges. But still, it's very clear, and it looks sharp. Interestingly, my house on this realm is actually lit up pretty well for RTX, so I'm kind of pleased by that. And the stained glass really, really stands out. Look at that. That's wild. Okay, well, I could probably go on. I could go on with this forever, just because the RTX does look really amazing, especially when the conditions are right and you're using the right texture pack. But I don't want to do that. That'll make this video very long. And I really just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what it looked like. Mostly it was for the Evil Lair, but just to kind of give you an overall look of RTX, I thought I would show you a little bit more. But I would say we're finished. Well, that's really it for our tour. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's been really gratifying for me to know that the Evil Lair has a new home and that I can continue to extend it for as long as I want to. Thank you very much for joining me. See you in the next video. Bye.